This is the Lambda Cartel special video episode. This is Pablo Rivera, your host of the podcast, never of the videos though. And with me is Odie and Babu. And I know I got it right this time. we just recorded the podcast, episode 10, and we said, hey, wait a minute. Let's just push Nikeza as is to production without a care in the world. Let's just get that done in order to spark the next step, right? Let's leave the others in the dust. so this is a challenge to Adam Wright, to Mitchell Tilbrook, and to Scott Nemrod. Like Odie and me, we're leading the chase, right? So step up. No, I'm just talking.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself because I don't know if we're going to be able to push this to production today because no idea, right? We're going into this not knowing anything. So the first thing we should do is figure out the how to push this to Azure, which I will let you lead. And while you do that, I'm going to be working on the code in order to have something that will show up as the index page, right?
Yeah.
Please take it away, Odie.
All right. So we are trying to deploy what we have, the Nikeza app, to Azure. So I think there are two steps involved because we are using Docker containers to do our deployment. The two steps involve one, pushing our current Docker instances to Docker Hub, and the second approach is to create the second thing we need to do is to create the Nikeza web application in Azure, and that gives us a URL straight away. But before we get to deploying the Docker images to Azure, I think Pablo is going to work on a simple HTML file that we will put on the website so that, you know, if you go to Nikeza, the Azure website, you'll be able to see, like, you know, the basic information like out of the gates. Then, so that in subsequent videos, if we continue this, we would show how we would just, you know, take it up from there. Yeah, so to get started, let me share my screen. So I'm sharing my entire screen, and I hope it's not too tiny, because that's another thing. When I record videos, I normally shrink it, but you know, whatever. So
can you make it full screen?
Yeah, so isn't it full screen right now?
I cannot say.
Okay.
But it's okay. I mean, I think that people will be able to follow the steps.
Yeah.
So let's give people a little bit of background. So we have a .NET Core application written in F#, and we're using Giraffe, and we're using Docker because everybody's on a different environment. We have people on Mac, we have people on Windows. And we wanted to have like an uniform development environment, right? And so what we want to do is push that Docker image and serve it to Azure. That's it. That's what we wanted to do. So that's what you will see. Nothing else, no magic, no security. This is all, you know, this is like a car with no engine, only 4 wheels, no transmission, nothing. It's just paint and wheels. So please take it. Please continue.
All right. So step number 1 is to go to portal.azure.com. But first of all, I think maybe it's a good thing that we just look at the app. Okay, I was working on it earlier today to do the database part. So let me close this. Let's close this. Let's close VS Code. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Pablo. Okay. So what I want to do is to let's see, this is the Nikeza server. If we move back 2 steps, we can now see, open it in VS Code.
Odie, hold on. I'm going to mute myself so that people can see your screen and not see when I talk, all right?
All right. Okay, that's cool. So, so yeah, this is essentially the Nikeza code. It has different sections. There is the client, which is the client app written in Elm. There is the Docker Compose. I think this is, I'm not so sure. Like, I've been studying Docker, but I haven't gotten to this part yet where I figure out what this Docker Compose is trying to do. But we'll get to that later. Then this is the server. So the server now has essentially the server has okay, this is Docker cache. These are where the Docker scripts are. Then you have the Nikeza.server application, which is a .NET Core application. As you can see from the fsproj, the startup.cs, and so on and so forth. We also have like some libraries like the WordPress library, the YouTube library, and so on and so forth. That is the integrations between the web app and all those other services. Then we have services here, which has the Stack Overflow backend service. I'm not totally sure what this does. I think Mitchell will be able to explain this better. But what we care about really is this Docker scripts, okay? So we have a Docker script here for building to dev. We have a Docker script here for building for production. So what does it do? Docker build -f docker file.prod, and it essentially just calls this. Now if you go to the docker file.prod, it pulls in the Jesse runtime for .NET. It makes this directory its workout directory, and it now finally calls the entry point .NET Nikeza server. So what I'm going to do is, let's go back to build docker dev. Let me copy this script. Okay, so I will run it from the Docker folder. So let's get to that. So here, right, first of all, to start with Docker, you just need Docker version. That shows you that you have Docker installed. Then the next step is to say Docker images. That shows you what images you have. And as you can see, I already downloaded some Docker images. It was my way of learning Docker. And let's also look at Docker PS. So that's like looking for the containers. So you can think of a Docker image as a class, and you can think of a container as an instance of that class or an object. So currently I have these classes, but I don't have any like objects I've instantiated, which is fine. So to take it away, just so that I'm on the same page, let's go to the server. Let's enter Nikeza server. Then, oh sorry, let me even go back to the Docker folder. And these are where the scripts are, okay? Let me go ahead and run the content of the script. Well, if you're on a Mac, it would have been easier to just say, like Pablo, you're on a Mac, so it would have been easier to just say build Docker production, Docker prod, like this, right? But as you can see in Windows, that doesn't work, and that was one of the issues I raised. Normally in Windows, you have to either call it a .bat or a .ps1. But on Bash, it will be .sh. So, and it wouldn't make sense for us to have like multiple copies of, have one for Windows, have one for Mac. We might end up doing that, but for now, I think it's better to just, since it's just one line in it, it's better to just copy out the one line and invoke it like this. So once I run this, it will build the image. So it's pulling the image from what do they call it? It's pulling the image from Docker Hub. Once that's done, we should have a running container. So let's just wait a bit. I think maybe because this is, when I'm doing videos normally, I like to cut off, I just like to cut this section. We might end up doing that. If that doesn't work out, it's okay. So Let's just wait a bit. I think we have one more layer left.
So let me just jump in. I'm adding the HTML file. I'm trying to build the project as is, but it's giving me a build error.
Okay.
And it seems that this was changed from .NET Core to .NET.
Wow. Okay. Hold on. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Let me share my screen. Let's share your own screen so that we can see what you're doing.
So let me no, front button. Sorry about that. Application window. Okay, you see my screen?
Yes, I can't see your screen.
Okay.
Yes, I do see.
So let me just put this here. Can you see the code?
Yes, I can see the code.
Okay. So here's what it's saying. Here's the errors that I have. The namespace data is not defined. The type SQL connection is not defined. So I feel maybe fast. Nikeza system.data.SQL client.
Yeah, that's actually from me. Do a .NET restore.
Oh, yep. I did .NET build and not .NET restore. Great.
Yeah, it was. I was the one that added that SQL client. So because
so
we needed it for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can actually query the MS SQL on Docker right now if we want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why didn't you open an issue and tell me? Oh my God. Vacation.
Yeah.
I'm just busting your chops.
Yeah.
So once this finishes,
the system.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the system.data.SQL client, right? It has been made cross-platform now. So by adding it to the application, you can use it to query any SQL from any from any operating system, whether it is Mac, Windows, or Linux. In the case of Mac, right, you need to use to get a SQL server. You need to use a Docker. You have to get the Docker container for SQL server and now just set it up locally.
I had
which
it.
I think is a neater solution.
I had it. I deleted it like 2 days ago because
it's a neater solution, really.
It is, but it was taking too much space for something I wasn't using at the moment. I said like I'm gonna delete it and then re-download it. And wish I had it. So in the meantime, this resource. So I created something called static index. Awful name, but I didn't want to add like an index file. I went to the routes. I commented out the route that serves the home HTML file, which is the file generated
from the client side.
Exactly. And now I'm going to serve that static index. So what I got to do now, the next step is just add a bunch of HTML. And that's it. So it's giving me, let me see, it says restore completed, failed to download package, system.net HTTP from blah, 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 blah. So it had like but I do have that installed.
Okay.
I do have that installed. So .NET build. Let's see what happens. Come on, Odie. Don't tell me that you broke the build. For my friend Pavneet-san, I have a friend who's always talking about like soft skills, relationship when you're a developer. Really smart guy, really cool guy, and
Yay.
he's always like talking about don't like the words who broke the bill, right? The blame. That's like a really bad thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have Hello Nikeza
Okay.
and .NET Run. Let's see if this works. I seem to have, so let me copy this because I'm lazy. And I'm showing you my Twitter feed. Oh my God. No. There you go. And
Okay.
we are ready for production, Odie. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Congratulations. So let's add some style to this. What else do you need to do on your end?
Nothing much. I think what we can do is let's switch back. So I'll get your code later, but let's switch back so that I can just let's
Sure.
do the setup of the web application itself. Then
Okay,
we will
so
now figure out how to get your code into production.
what I'll do is finish adding the stuff, push it
Okay.
to my repo, create a pull
So
request, and then you can pull it from the main Nikeza repo.
yeah.
We'll go from there. All right.
All right. All right.
All right. Awesome. So let me stop sharing my screen, and that's
Okay.
it. All right.
Let me share
Awesome.
mine. All right. So and we're back. So as you can see, the Docker image has been totally built. So if I come to Docker images, I now have a new Docker image here. This Nikeza server dev, a whole 800 meg. That is not small.
What, are we pushing Ubuntu to production? Oh my God!
Yeah.
Huge.
So let's see. Okay, so here I would say Docker run Nikeza server dev, Nikeza server dev, and I should be able to have this container running. Okay, so if I do a Docker PS, oh okay, Docker PS, okay, Docker PS -a, I guess. Okay, it just ran and ended, so we have to. I think I have to run it differently. I say Docker PS dash. I think there's a -d or so. Okay, let's go back to Docker images. Okay, so I would say something like Docker PS. I'm sorry, Docker run. I would now specify how I want to run it. Do I want to run it interactively? That's IT, or do I want to run it as a daemon? That's D. Then I would now map the port. So I have to specify. I think this Nikeza server dev, and I need to map the port. That's -p, and I want to map 8080, or I could even map my port 80. That's the cool thing with this. I can map my port 80 to port 5000 inside of the container. So once we run this, I think it is running. Okay, no. I think something is wrong. It's not -p or so. I'm still learning this stuff, folks. So
It's all right. Don't worry.
So I just need to quickly check documentation. Yeah, -d -p. So I was actually correct. It's just that I was not doing it correctly. So I was actually correct, but I think this is the last part. So the port and others has to come first. So I want to map my port 80 towards 8 to 5000 inside the container. And I think I can also specify that I want .NET run. So that's what should run. Okay, I think it's running now. So if I say docker ps, okay, let me redo this. The docker ps, what is going on? I think what's going on is that it just runs and stops. So wow, my docker skills are not as good as I thought they were.
All right.
Anyway, let's okay. So as you can see, this particular one should have worked. This one that said .NET run, because okay, there's a different way we could do this. I, instead of using -d, right, I would use -it interactive, and what that will do is it gets me into the container. So as you can see, I'm actually running root, /oft/app or whatever the case may be. So let's ls that. As you can see, it's even blank. Wow. But as you can see, I'm literally inside Ubuntu. So ls, ps, and so on and so forth all work inside of the container. Then to exit the container, that's Control PQ. That brings me out of the container back into PowerShell. So I think it's Mitchell that would know how to know where I'm really stuck with. Anyway, let's leave this. Well, another approach I could follow, because like we said, we have to get this thing into production one way or the other. So another approach.
We gotta give birth to this baby.
Yeah, absolutely. So another approach. Yeah, another approach we can take is to, let's see, this is Nikeza.server. This is okay, this is the app, right? So I could say, instead of using Docker, I could say .NET publish, right? .NET publish. Let me check the help and see. As you can see, there's a help, there's a framework, identifier, so runtime, and so on and so forth. What I want is to just specify the output directory. So .NET publish, the output directory, let me just put it on my desktop. So C users od desktop, and let's just say deploy. Okay, so this will be where we have our build artifact. So by running this, let's just give it a moment. What it will do is just, package all our binaries and our DLLs and drop them on the desktop. So let's see if I did things correctly. So this is it here. We have all the files necessary to make this work, right? I think something is missing though. See the home folder here, the app store, rather the home file. Okay, no, I think it's fine. This is fine. This is fine. So the only thing that now needs to happen is that, .NET is built on Kestrel, right? So Kestrel is a cross-platform open source web server. So it has nothing to do with IIS or Azure. It can be deployed anyways. It's literally just an exe. And to prove that it's literally just an exe, let's head back to PowerShell, right? Let me push directory, C users od desktop, deploy, right? Now in this directory, right, these are all the files. It's literally just saying .NET Nikeza.server. That's it, period. And the app is running, listening on port 5000. Okay, now because of that, right, for it to work in Azure, you need a web config, right? So the web config is what helps IIS, or it would be similar to I'm trying to remember, in Apache there is a file we normally use in Apache to register like web applications. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah, oh my God, this is the no, it's not the HD axis, it's the I forgot
It's,
too, but
I think it's http.conf. I mean, no, no,
yes,
no,
that
it's not.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
HTTP.com.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is it. So this file is what tells Apache how to like launch your web server essentially. So what we need is we need a corresponding file. We need uh, um, a corresponding version of that file. Now, for some reason, the default template for Giraffe doesn't produce that file because by default it's supposed to produce that file. So I'm going to do a little bit of a hack. So the hack I'm going to do is to create a directory. Let's call this sample, right? So in
Mm-hmm.
this sample directory, what I'm going to do is say .NET new, right? Just a new, I just want a new MVC app, even though it's C sharp, that's fine. Then I'll say .NET restore. Once that's done, I'll say .NET publish, right? And I will give it an output of C users OD desktop. Um, let's call this sample build, right? Okay. Okay. So now that this is done, let's head back to sample build, right? Let's explore this, and as you can see, it will have a web config here. So let's open the whole thing in code, in VS Code. I love VS Code so much because it opens in seconds, literally seconds.
It's a
So
really nice product. And it's MIT license. So
yeah.
yeah, that surprised me. I thought it was something funny, but Microsoft is, I'm still, to be honest, I give Microsoft a lot of flack, but the fact that they're doing this MIT without any sort of patent clause like Facebook does,
Yeah.
it's rather than tell me
It's it,
you want to work with me, show me, and they're definitely showing this part. I mean, I still have my reservations regarding Windows and their telemetry and all that stuff, but at
yeah.
least for code and all those things, it's wait. But .NET Core does have telemetry that you have to turn
Yes.
off manually. Um,
Yes, it does.
so that's a big of a pain in the behind. Like don't make that. I think that's something they have to learn in open source. You make those things optional.
Explicit, optional.
Don't make.
Uh, but there's the argument that the data, because what Microsoft has been doing is the data they got from it, right? They still give it back to the community. So it's not like they have special data that they hoard somewhere. The data is still open, and the data is not like uniquely identifiable. It's not like it can say, oh, this person or that person. It just knows that people are using .NET Run. That's all. It doesn't have any all this kind of information. I think it's useful, as an open source project. Like you need feedback to know like what direction how are people using your products. Are there ways you can help them? Are there things you can find out that will benefit you, etc., etc.
I've
So
like no issues with that, but I'm just not comfortable with it. Like giving
yeah,
that sort of
yeah,
data, you know,
yeah,
and just make it optional. Like ask me, give me a pop up, or ask me when you install it. Like, do you want to let telemetry? And some people will be okay with that, and but
nah,
others won't be okay. And
I,
it's just I don't know.
I think it's the default that is disturbing.
Yeah,
It's not.
exactly. It's the user experience.
Yeah, it's,
Like
it's not like.
I, uh-huh.
Mm. It's not that they did. It's not that it's bad for them to add it. It's more like you shouldn't have made it. You shouldn't have made it opt out rather than making it opt in.
Exactly. That's true.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
don't assume I want to give you that data. And I understand that if they wait for people to give them data, then they're gonna wait forever, right? But you know, that's the price to pay, I guess. You
Yeah.
know, like, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. So, so to continue, right? Let's look at log. Let me just create a logs folder here. Um, so what I've done so far is I've added the equivalent. Let's call this logs like this. I've added the equivalent of that HTTP conf.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the case of this thing, it's called web config. And the only change I made was to this. So what this is doing is invoking the ASP.NET Core handler, and it's now telling the ASP.NET Core handler that it should run .NET Nikeza server.dll. Essentially what I did from command line, but this time it will run it within the context of IIS. So IIS will be responsible for that process. If the process should die, IIS will resurrect it, and you know, a lot of other niceties. You get security. So if people are trying to brute force your web server, or if people are trying to send invalid input in order to like hack your web server, you know, IIS would protect you from that. So now that we have all this, I think the last step is I'm just going to leave this as a sample, because we're going to still we're not doing the final deployment yet. So I'm now going to switch over to Azure. So let
Mm-hmm.
me sign out. Let me sign my personal account. It's something that we can always change later.
Can I show you really quickly what I'm doing?
All right, cool.
Can I share my screen?
Sure. Let me. I think I'll have to stop sharing mine.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, there we go. So, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So how did I get something going so quickly? So, you know my project Boot Parts. I was talking about it the other day, that allows you to take pre-built components and just lap it on, and you know, just use it. So this is Boot Parts right here. Let me go to the documentation. I created this because I'm always doing website for clients, and I realized that I was repeating myself over and over and over and over and over for the same, you know, visual components. And I said, why don't I just create a set of components that I can customize and build pages by just copy pasting stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I just did. I just took the agency landing page, which is right here. Let me go to the demo. I deleted everything except the top part. I changed the button to I changed the button to show the logo, and I added a component that is for text, and that's what I'm doing now.
Wow.
I'm gonna center the links. I'm just gonna put it. And the beauty of it is that it's the image. I gotta make the image responsive, but it's responsive from, you know, as a default. So everything is done for you, and I'm loving this because this, I think, it's a great way to approach prototyping, a way to build things. And here is all the HTML. And the cool thing is that I don't even have to. I said, do I have to figure out how to host static content? No, because I can just use the static content that I have hosted on GitHub. And that's it. Yeah, who cares? I mean, we're just doing this for the time being. So who cares? We don't need that. So please continue with what you were doing. I'm gonna stop sharing now.
Okay, that is awesome. All right, so back to my screen, right? So we have like stuff set up. The next step is, you know what? I even have a better idea. Anyway, I'll get to that later. But I have a better idea which I will get to. For now, let's just focus on get into Azure. So I need to, log in. So let's go back. Let's pick live. I have an Azure account already that I used to, work on different stuff. It's telling me I'm already signed in. Sure. Remain signed in with that account. Oh, okay. This isn't it. Let's go back. Pick this.
It's responsive. Feeling good.
Yeah.
Feels good when you have some progress. So, oh my God. Let's see.
All right. So let me give you a Azure 101. So yeah, so this is the Azure Portal. This is the main dashboard. You can customize the dashboard and so on and so forth. I think this is even one of the projects I'm working on. So I don't really need that here. But anyway, the key thing here is in Azure, you have what's called resource groups. Okay, so resource groups, you can think of them as, should I say, applications. I think applications is a better way of looking at it because it's a set of like services that are all bundled together that solve a particular problem or do a particular thing. So in our own case, I've already even created a Nikeza before. Can you imagine? So I've created a Nikeza group. Now I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this so that we can start again. So let me come here. Let me just call the name Nikeza. Go ahead and delete it. So that deletes all the resources in it. I think it's currently deleting. So as you can see, it has a kind of a blade interface in the sense that the context always starts from the left and heads towards the right. So if I said, yeah, so if
it's much better. It's like Windows right now.
Yeah, so if I come here and I pick, let's say, Edu Portal, it shows me this section. I see an overview and stuff like that. Let's say I click application settings, it shows me this. Let's say in the application settings, I click another button, like that. So I can easily tell where I'm coming from, and I can always go back and change the hierarchy at any point in time, which is a really neat idea. But let's head back to Nikeza. I think I'm still trying to delete this resource group. It should be done soon. Maybe I should just started it if I knew it was going to take this long. But what it's doing essentially in deleting the resource group is going through everything that was inside the resource group. So the database, the web app, the whether you have blob storage or queues or whatever the case may be, it will just delete. It will be deleting them one by one. Transactional way. So it's either it deletes everything or it deletes nothing. So yeah, it's gone now. So I pick a resource group and I say I want to add a resource group. And this resource group is what? Let's say Nikeza. Okay. I select a subscription. Okay. I can also select a data center. So I'm going to say West US. North Europe is the, should I say, closest data center to us here in Africa. But I think considering that most of our audience are in the US, I think West US is the best. Or should I pick East Coast or West Coast? What do you think?
Let's do East Coast because that way we're closer to everybody's like central.
Okay, so East
everybody's
Coast, right?
Going to enjoy the same amount of lag. Right, we want everybody to suffer equally.
Equally. Okay, so East US, right? All right, so let's go ahead and create that. Yeah, so the resource group is created. If I refresh this, I have my Nikeza resource group. And then, as you can see, there's absolutely nothing here. So this now gives me the opportunity of adding, right? Adding application. So there are so many templates. So virtually anything you want. You want Redis, if you want, you have all sorts of. If you want, I don't know, Postgres, right? You have it here as well. If you want MySQL, whatever kind of application you are building, whatever tools you use, you will definitely find some templates here. But in our case, right, there is a particular template because we are definitely using both a web app and a database at the same time. There is a handy template here which has web app plus SQL, and it essentially just does these two steps, but it not only does the two steps, it also connects the web app to the database directly. And I'll explain how that happens. So you come here, we pick web app plus SQL, we click
Wow,
create.
I just want to say Azure has changed a lot.
Yeah, like I was
Holy
saying, right?
hell.
Like
Yeah, it's
they've gone through
amazing.
there's so many iterations they've gone through, right?
I mean,
So
I hated the other version I worked with because
mhm.
it was really hard to work with, and I had to, the whole process of creating your Microsoft account, and then a live account, and what account, and then you have to give permissions. You have to create an image. It was, it was,
Yeah,
it was as if I were pulling my teeth out. But
yeah, okay.
now it's
Okay,
awesome.
so yeah. I have a story to tell, right? So
Okay.
yeah, sorry for taking you on a tangent, but I think this is useful. What happened was when Scott Guthrie took over Azure, what he did was he organized a hackathon and called most of the like heads of managers in Microsoft to use Azure to develop something. And this was the period when you were using it that it was so painful and it was all that. And they all tried it, and I think the story goes that only two teams were able to successfully like deploy an app to Azure, and that was like very technical and very painful. So he now like used that to admonish them that imagine how difficult it was for you guys to get something done on Azure, and you guys have a vested interest on Azure, and yes, it was difficult for you. How much more the developer on the street who doesn't really care, who has the option of AWS, GCM, and so on and so forth. So that was when they started challenging themselves on how to make sure that it is as simple as possible, and they made sure that they open all the routes, so giving you the absolute freedom to deploy the app anyhow you see fit. And I'm going to show you a little bit of all the different options we have with Azure. So to sorry for taking you on a tangent. Let's get back. So here I would
No,
give
but
it a name.
that was very important because as we push this out, that's the same approach we're doing. We
Yes,
want to push
yes.
something out. We want to get it in the hands of people. We want to get it in the hands of other Lambda Cartel members, so that they can start, messing with it. And we want to give them access to push to production. Forget having a staging server. Forget having a development server. We're going hardcore. Who cares? Doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, we can create another instance, but
Yeah.
it's not the best approach to development. This is not the way you approach developing on enterprise or anything like that. But sometimes you gotta cut some corners in order to get some momentum going, and that's what we're doing here,
Yeah.
gathering that momentum, just getting up to speed.
Yeah. Because think of startup culture, right? The startups are not like the enterprises, right? They don't have the time to start spending on and outsourcing and writing memos and all that. They just want to get something done so that who knows they could get another round of funding and all that. So this is
Mm-hmm.
very empowering in that light. So okay, so I'm going to give you like a tutorial of Azure that I wish I got in the beginning. So now that I've picked the web app plus SQL, I now just give it a name, Nikeza. And as you can see, it's saying nikeza.azurewebsites.net. Then I now pick my subscription, which is pay as you go. Then of course, the resource group is already selected for me, which is Nikeza. Then this is important, right? There's something they call app service plan / location. Now, uh,
Okay.
the way you should think of this app service plan is to think of it as an Amazon instance. Okay, so
Mm.
the same way you have instances of
It's
like
like
a
EC2.
CPU. Yeah, so it's like a CPU that is customized for you, so you have access to like the full power, you have access to the hard disk, you have access to the operating system and all that, right? uh,
Okay.
that's what this app service is really. So you could deploy multiple apps on the same app service, but they are all sharing the same instance, the same CPU, the same memory, and so on and so forth. So in our case, that's not a big deal because we have just one app. But you can imagine that you may want to have a staging, a production, and so on and so forth. So those ones, you could make them share the same app service instance, essentially. Okay. So just wanted to point that out. So here, by default, it just creates one on the fly for you, but I don't like the name. I like to give it a proper name. So let's call this Nikeza plan. Nikeza plan, because that's what they call the app service plan. And then you have to make sure that the app service plan is also in the same region that you want all your should I say assets to be, all the same assets in the resource group. That's because you don't want your database to be in another data center and your web app in another data center. That would mean
Yeah,
that
because
you
that
know
will kill you. The performance will kill you.
yeah, the latency will just finish you. So what you
Yeah.
want is for them to be in the same group. And we picked East US, so I'm going to pick East US as well. So then this is now where we now have the pricing, where you select, what pricing tier you want. So the way the pricing is done is you have scale up and scale out. Okay, so each layer like this is scaling up. So you have free, which is the one we are going to pick because I don't have money. I'm poor like that. So so but you have basic, which is like one core, 1.75 gig RAM, 10 gigs of storage, etc., right? And it moves up, right? The one on top of that adds 50 gig. The one on top of this adds 250. Then this one adds an SSD with faster CPU and crazy shit. Like if anything you want. Sorry for my language, but anyway, this is
It's
scaling
okay.
up.
The podcast is the only one that needs to be like for all ages. You can talk all you
Yeah.
want on YouTube. It's okay.
All
Don't
right.
worry.
All right. So
I forgive. I forgive you.
thank you. so yeah, so this is the scaling up. So you take one instance and you increase the capacity. Then on the side, this is scaling out. So this gives you one core, two core with larger RAM, or four core with largest amount of RAM. And the more you scale up, the more options you have. So at this one, they give you the opportunity of having what is called slots. So slots is a way of having like multiple copies of your app in production so that you could have like a staging, a deployment, and you could have a last known configuration for swapping and things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, let's head one I can afford, which is free. We select that, then we click OK, right? So once we do this, we have an app service plan configured. Now that takes us, as you can see the UI, the way the UI flows. So it takes us exactly back to where we are, which is the database. And when we come here, we now say we want to create a brand new database, SQL Server database. Now you have, at this point, we are configuring we need to give the database a name. So let's just call this Nikeza. To make it clearer, we can call it Nikeza DB. Yeah, because that's the database itself. Then we now need a server that the database will run inside. So we now have to come here, say create new server. And this is where we'll give the server a name. So we'll say Nikeza. So this server has an absolute name, nikeza.database.windows.net. So if you wanted to connect to it, you would use this absolute URI or this domain, this URL to talk to it. So now we need to give it a admin. So let's just call this web admin. I will not say the password online. So let me see if I got that correct. Did I? Okay. So again, we have to make sure that we are in the same we're in the same region. So this is West US, sorry, East US, and we select that. Okay. So now that we have the database server, again, it's essentially what we did for the service plan. That's what we're doing here. But now we have to pick a database. Of course, we have the option of standard, premium, and if you really want to go really crazy, Azure will give you options of having insane amounts of data. But again, I'm going back to free because that's the one I can afford. So, and we have a database. So the free database is just 32 MB, which is very small, but at least it will serve for what we're trying to do. Later, we can scale it up. So this now brings us back here. And then this is the key part that I want you to pay attention to. You see this little thing here? Do you see this?
Yeah.
Application insights. This is, in my opinion, one of the best things about Azure, because what it does is it essentially switches on monitoring. So think Google Analytics, but a developer version of Google Analytics. Google Analytics, it gives you like information as to, okay, this person clicked this page, and this page, from this page he went to this other page, and from this other page he dropped off, things like that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so Application Insight does that, but from a developer standpoint. So what it allows you to do is it can tell you, okay, this person, people are hitting 404s on your page, or this particular URL is returning 500, and it's not just that it's returning 500. This is the specific method. This is the specific line of code that is causing the 500. In fact, the moment you open Visual Studio, right, Visual Studio can tell you that, okay, the last change you made in this function was deployed to production, and out of the 400 requests that passed through this function, 300 were failing, and this is the exception that of the 300 that were failing. This is the stack trace. This is very deep sets of information. So it's a good thing to have. So I'm going to switch it on. So let's go ahead and create Nikeza straight away. All right, and we're done. Okay, I'm sorry, we're not done yet.
Oh. Come on, to break my heart.
Seriously, we're done. I mean it. We are done. I couldn't be more sure of anything. Like, it's just deploying. When it's done, you will see. So it's going off, because what we've just done is create a workflow for it, and now it's going off. It will set up the application, set up the database, set up the application insight, connect the application insight to the web application, connect the database to the web application also, and it will add a lot of stuff. It's adding HTTPS endpoints, so SSL certificates, everything you can think of. Like, you'll be so surprised by the time it's done. It's going to take a while because it's doing a lot of magic behind the scenes. But once it's done, that is it. The app is complete. So let's just wait a little. So in the meantime, maybe what we should do is let's head back to, I don't know why it's taking so long, but let's head back to your side so that you can push the code you have. I will merge it. I will merge it
I'm
in.
gonna blow your brain
Oh,
when you see
it's
this.
already.
You're gonna go like, What? It looks so good. It looks so
That's
good.
awesome.
Let me, and I'm adding the last bit.
It's actually done. So let me show you what I was saying. It's actually done. So all I
Sure.
just need to do is say
Go ahead.
Nikeza.azurewebsites.net, and ta-da, we have an application. In fact, not just that we have an application, we have a HTTPS enabled application, signed, secured. If you've done anything HTTPS before, you know that it's not a trivial thing to set up on an application. So I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this?
Let me change my screen. Yes.
Okay, so this is the app already. In fact, they even have a video here that shows you how to deploy, there's the different approaches you can take to deploying the app. You have FTP, a lot of things. In fact, let me even get to that. So
Can we
what
do
have we
like a
done? So
Git push to Azure?
very good question. In fact, let me show you what's going to happen. So once, look at what has been created for us. Once we created this, it created the Nikeza application insight, it created the Nikeza database server, it created the Nikeza website, it created the Nikeza database, and it created the Nikeza plan. So if you go to the Nikeza website, that's this nikeza.azurewebsites.net, it gives us a bunch of stuff. So we have something called a publish profile. So with this publish profile, you can just open your Visual Studio, select the publish profile and just click publish, and it will just go to Azure. That is route number one. Route number two is you have FTP as well. So just put this FTP here, and from the publish profile, you get the username and password, and you can use FTP to deploy. Route number three is you have the option of going to deployment. Okay, this is for deployment credentials. You have the option of going to deployment options. Yeah. And at this point, you can now say, okay, I want to deploy from either Visual Studio Team Services. I want to deploy from OneDrive. I want to create a local Git repository that I will push to and it will deploy. I want to deploy from GitHub, that option. I want to deploy from Bitbucket. I want to deploy from Dropbox. I want to deploy from an external repository. You have so many options in that regards. So there is that. There's also yet another option where you can go to application. Sorry, you can come to, this is actually my favorite, and I think you should pay attention here because you find this fascinating. They call this advanced tools, but it's called Kudu internally. All you just need to do is, instead of saying nikeza.azurewebsites.net, right? Instead of saying nikeza.azurewebsites.net, you can just come here and add SCM in between. And once you do that, it brings you to Kudu, right? So what this Kudu gives you is is a web application, but it gives you a window into the machine that's running your app. So for example, I could come to the environment and look up all the environment variables. I could come to the debug console. I could come to the process explorer and see the processes that are running in the web app, and have different tools for log dumps and so on and so forth. But the thing that really blows me away, and the thing I want to show you, is if I pick PowerShell, it gives me a live console inside the web app that I can use to, come and say .NET
That's
run if
really
I
cool.
wanted to. Yeah, so if I say .NET version, I can see the version that's running, preview 2.0. I could do and undo, like I could open this folder size, open www-root, and it gives me that default page we see. This is it here, and I can click edit, and it launches an editor right inside the browser. I can make changes that I want, and once I'm done, I click save, and
So
it
so wait
saves.
a minute. Wait a minute. I know this from the old cPanel web host software, where you could
Yes.
open a PHP file or HTML file or JavaScript file, whatever. Even I think even the CGI files, and I'm going way back here, right? People gotta know how old I really am. So I think it's wonderful that you can do those sort of things, because we, ultimately we try not to make changes there, but sometimes that's where it happens. We got to be realistic, and that's fantastic.
Problems.
I mean, I am becoming an Azure fanboy by watching you do this. We're gonna have to do a training session, you and me, to work with Azure and put that out there so that people can benefit from this, because there's a lot of ignorant people like me, right, who said, "Oh, Azure, it's the all UI, yuck," and I'm being blown away. Like, I'm gonna go on Twitter later. I'm just gonna blast away Microsoft's Twitter account and just say, like, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is like they've been changing it constantly, improving it to the point that it's almost like, I know how bad it was back in the day, right? They had one Silverlight plugin, and it was very, very ugly, back in the day, but they've gone a long way from where they used to be. So back to the deployment options.
Are you ready to see what I'm doing?
Okay, you know what? Let's switch back to see what you're doing. So so I'm going to stop my
because I want to show you the finished. I want to show you my finished product right here.
All right.
Prepare to have your mind blown a little bit, right? It looks freaking awesome. Oh my god. And I'm going to show you the mobile version, just like the mobile approach, and then I'll show you desktop. Let me stop being such a tease and just show you it. There you go.
Wow.
Look, I mean, this is not the UI that we're going to go with, but just imagine, this is the spirit of Nikeza. You go to a website, you see what everybody, what content creators have been doing. You have links, and that's it. And like here we have, this is the video we're recording right now. We have the Nikeza repo on GitHub. We have the podcast we just recorded like less than an hour ago. We have a video of Scott, his journey on Elm. We have the podcast episode 9. We have a post that I made on my blog. We had a post from Adam. I mean, I was gonna add like a post from. I was gonna ask you, what's your blog URL? But I don't know if you have a blog. Like,
I do.
What do you do? So paste that on the chat, because I want to add something from you here.
Okay. So like how did you do this? Like that's what's blowing my mind. Like, that's live data, isn't it?
No, I was just copy pasting. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I told you I was gonna do. Like, check it out. I just copy pasted. It's not live data. I wish it was live data, but the fact that it's not live data, it's motivating, because now we can like, I want to take that and automate it. I want to have this served from the database, and forget about users, forget about any other feature. I just want to have this feed. That's it.
Yeah, and then just be rolling updates.
Yeah, exactly. And here's how it looks on the desktop.
Wow, that's it. That's
what you can say. Like, that's it.
Yeah, like, what's even blowing my mind about it is that we live in an era where there's a lot of bad design, and good design is design that doesn't distract. And this goes straight to the point, because most people don't really care about flashy graphics and all. They just want to come and just see what this thing is all about. Just see a list of links, very clean, very with enough white space and all. I like it. I love it.
Yeah, I am falling in love all over again with Nikeza, and I think that having this later on production, we're just gonna say, we're gonna surprise all the other members and say, hey, we pushed it to production. They're like, what?
No. What we'll do is just drop the URL there. just drop the URL in the chat.
Yeah, that's the baller move. Like, there you go, bitches. Oh my god,
it be so epic. They just wake up and be like, "What? Nikeza is complete? How? Where?"
I can't even. Everybody's gonna be so confused, so angry. Like, oh, what did you guys do? You're crazy, you know. Like, but I mean, sometimes you just gotta go for it, you know.
Yeah,
sometimes you just gotta go for it, and you know, and to be honest, what you're doing is something that we had to do, right? That's something that we had to do. And what I'm doing, it's not really important in the grand scheme of things, but it's providing something so that we can create that, you know, we're doing that 3-minute, what we did, like, you know, how to create a movement in 3 minutes. So there is so much that we can do from this experience, like going on Twitter, like, hey, we felt like we were stuck in a project and we just decided to push it to production. And there's like 20 podcast episodes from what we're doing right now. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's part of that. Awesome. It's having people come in, and I wish we had a bigger audience so that they can join in. As a matter of fact, let's continue on your end, because I'm going to start tweeting the hell out of it.
Of course. So what I need from you before you go, just quickly send a pull request of what you have, so that I'll just, you know, take over from where you stopped.
Okay. So the branch, let me see. So commit. What's the commit message for this? All your base belong to us.
I'm thinking of a word that would describe like the first, should I say, the first ice ball in an avalanche. Like, I'm trying to think of a word that would describe something that, like,
we can go like. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
No, I don't watch Game of Thrones. It's a series that I'll get around to watching.
No, so Game of Thrones has a saying that, so just to give you a quick overview, they're like at war with some weird shit that's coming from the north, right? And the way they say it, that danger is coming, they say winter is coming, like very scary, like winter is coming, you know, like something like that. So what I'm gonna do is, that's gonna be the commit message. Winter is coming.
Nice.
Oh my god! So good push, origin. And it's what's the name of the action push? Oh my god! This is gonna create such. Oh my god! It's gonna create so much rage. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna look back and say, like, this is crazy some bitches. I mean, that's the way you gotta do. All right. So let me create the pull request now.
Okay.
This feels so good. You don't know how good it feels to be able to do a pull request.
Yeah, it does. It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've been wanting to do a pull request so bad. I've been hoping for this moment so bad, because it's been an uphill battle, at least on my head, right? For me, and this is like a magical moment. Oh my god! I'm not gonna start crying, but I might. All right,
yeah,
so
please don't.
Oh my god, I want to think. No, I'm not gonna do that. All right, so yep, winter is coming. That's the title of the commit, and it's this pull request includes static HTML page for root URL. That's it. That's all it includes. So I'm going to add the reviewer. It's going to be you.
Okay.
And let's add a label. We don't have a label. Damn it. I wanted to add like an epic label, something like that. And create pull request. The pull request is now officially there. Do you have admin capabilities?
Yes, I do.
All right. All right. Let me just start tweeting the hell out of this.
All right. So I'm merging the pull request. Well, winter is coming.
Yes.
So the next step is for me to get your changes. Let me pop this directory, and let's do a git status. Okay, I made some modifications to BBFS and added the SQL script. Let's do a pull with rebase. And then I can push back. Okay. So let's do it .NET build. Just to be sure that I haven't broken anything. All right, we're good. So next step is to publish what we have. So let me see. I think I have, yeah, this. Okay, so back to what we were doing, right? This is one way of publishing, like, you know, from your desktop, you just build the artifact. Let me bring this out of this place, put it here, remove this too, right? One way of like deploying the app is to just build it locally, then upload your files to the server. But I'm going to show you a boss way of doing it. You want to know what the boss way of doing it is? Hmm? Are you listening?
Yeah. Am I muted? Sorry.
Okay.
I'm just like you asked. I'm like yes.
Okay. So, let me show you how that would work. Let's go to our Nikeza build pipeline, right? Remember, we have a build pipeline. So I want to deploy directly from the build pipeline to our Azure website. So let's see. That was Lambda Cartel visualstudio.com. Oh, forward authorized. I have to sign up and sign it again. So login, OGTRS at live, sign in. Okay.
So we have somebody is watching right now on Twitter. They're watching this live. I want to say hi to John Best, who's watching us right now doing this. Hey John, what is up? We appreciate your support. Thank you for always being there. this is just crazy. If you started watching right now, we're just pushing this without nobody else knowing. This is not even what Nikeza was supposed to be. What we're just trying to get some momentum going.
Yeah. So essentially, the build we did today. Okay, it's like I think I detached it from the GitHub account because of the build minutes. Anyway, that's fine. All I just need to do is come and trigger this build. So I don't know. I think I did a video. I don't know if you saw it. I did a video where I showed how to set up this build pipeline. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
Okay, so that's okay. What I'm going to show is how to okay, so let me just go over this quick. Let me just go over it quickly. First of all, we have to build pipelines, right? So one build pipeline is for the client, another build pipeline is for the server. Now the build pipeline for the server, all we just need to do is to select it, and then we have this. Okay, let me edit it, right? So what you have is a sequence of steps that form the build pipeline, right? Still loading. Good. So what you have is a sequence of steps that forms the build pipeline. So here, this is where we would get the sources. So we're saying it should get the sources from GitHub. I've already done the connection before. Then it should run .NET Restore. Then it should run .NET Build. It should run .NET Test, and it should now do .NET Publish. Remember that .NET Publish I did from the command line. This is how you would do it from a build pipeline. Also, it now does a publish artifact. So what does it do? It zips the entire output of the publish into a zip file. Now, remember what I was saying earlier. Typically, right now, because this is just a POC, we're just moving forward. But technically, what we should have been using is Docker. So it has Docker commands. So we can say Docker compose, Docker, Docker add, Docker download image, or whatever the case may be, and then use that to build a Docker image, and then push that Docker image to something like Docker Hub, so that by the time we get to release, we would essentially make the build agent download the container and now push that container to Azure. Okay, to deploy the container to Azure. You can also deploy to Kubernetes. You can also deploy. Kubernetes is Google's container engine. Okay, Azure has support for it as well. So if you want to deploy to a Google Kubernetes cluster, you are free to do that as well. Anyway, long story short is we have the build pipeline working, and to show that it's working, let us go ahead and queue a build. So what is going to happen is it's going to create this build. Right now it's waiting for a build agent. So because we're using the free version, an agent is actually given to us, this hosted agent. Although we have a limited number of build minutes, we can buy more, or we can, register a build agent on our local machines and just trigger the build from there. So those are the different options we have. But anyway, long story short is, yes, it's now getting the sources. Once it gets the source code, it now tries to do .NET Restore. I don't know if I can show you. If you look well, you see it's .NET Restore and all that. Once .NET Restore is done, it will do .NET Build. So there it's installing.
I gotta say something. When we get around to doing Lambda Cartel T-shirts, stickers, or whatever it is that we do, we gotta send one to John Best, because he has been one of the biggest supporters on Twitter, and the fact that he is watching right now is amazing. So we actually have more than one person watching.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's 3 more people than I thought would watch. And John is asking about the .NET Foundation. I think I heard about it, but I'm not the ultimate sort of truthing anything Microsoft or .NET. So don't trust anything I say there.
Yeah.
So if the other 2 people who are watching this right now, if they're able to post on the chat and say hi, I would love to know who you are, if it's possible. It's just to give you, you know, a little hello and just to, you know, to say thank you for watching. So go ahead, Odie. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's fine. I'm just here waiting for the build to finish. Like as for the .NET Foundation, right? It's essentially supposed to be an organization outside of Microsoft that is in charge of .NET. So, you know, and it's in, of course, Microsoft is a stakeholder in .NET, but it goes beyond Microsoft. Google is part of the .NET Foundation. Samsung is part of the .NET Foundation, and a few other companies. So anyway, the build is complete. The output of this build should be a zip file. So if we look carefully through the build artifact, okay, they didn't specify where the zip file is located, but that's fine. What we now need to do is build a release. Okay, so a release is how you take the things that we are built, you take the artifacts that were just built in our build process, and we now push it to some kind of production. So as you can see, there's what they call the new release definition editor. I think we should use that one because that one is more visual. I kind of prefer it. So once I try this, so the idea is, you know, different organizations have different workflows. So some organizations could say, okay, everything in our dev branch should be pushed to, like the one we use at where I work, everything in the dev branch gets pushed to a staging server. Then everything in the master branch gets pushed to production. So when developers are working in the dev branch, there's a quick feedback loop of, okay, this is code you are committing, and this is the output on the live server. You know, so the staging server is like a direct clone of the live server as well, and you can do that to test and so on and so forth. And we have a little bit, we have some of the switches on the dev server, on the staging server, such that if there are errors, the errors would actually show up, not, you know, it telling you, giving you a customized error page, and, you know, little niceties like that. So, but anyway, this is ultimately where you would configure. So let me come here and turn it on. Let me also turn on a few other new features. So streamline user management. So so when it comes up, you see what it's trying to do. So what it does for you is okay, go ahead. What were you trying to say?
I want to say that there's 4 people watching right now, and means that there's 4 people in the world who don't have anything else to do. No, but so I want to say thank you for those watching. This was a spontaneous thing that Odie and I did after recording the podcast. When I release the podcast a little bit later tonight, you can subscribe to it and just listen to the end of the show where we say, to hell with this. We're going to push it to production. We're going to do something crazy, something simple, just to get over that bump and say we're live, right? Nikeza, as it is, as you're going to see it in a little while, it's not what we envisioned, right? This is not what we came up with, but this is the most minimum or minimal you know, definition of what it is, which is Nikeza is just a place where you can see what a content author has done in the last, you know, period of time, right? So for example, for Lambda Cartel, you're going to see like the last links for the last couple of months or whatever. And so it's a way for you to aggregate all of the links and all of the content that you have on the 25,000 different platforms available out there in one place. So if we want to know what John Best is up to, you know, on YouTube and WordPress and Twitter and Stack Overflow, rather than go to each of those platforms, you know, independently, I can go to Nikeza, to his profile, and see what John has been up to. And it's a beautiful product, a beautiful idea, and we just want to put something out there so that people, you know, can see that we're actually moving forward, and that we're not stagnating, and that and this also motivates us to continue polishing the product. And rather than have a static website, which is what we're going to have right now, we're going to have, we're going to have something that is dynamic, and it actually shows the content that you want to see. So thank you everyone for watching, and let's continue on this crazy adventure. I mean, it's Friday night. I don't drink, but if I did drink, I would be drinking some tequila or something right now. I mean, this is hardcore right here. Like, yeah, you can't do this at your job.
Not at all. So again, thank you guys for watching. It's 2 a.m. here, so you can imagine what it's like for me. But anyway, I slept. Don't worry about me. So, but anyway, the point is we're the grand finale now. So what we want to do is to deploy the app to Azure. So the last phase is we've done the build pipeline. That one is already set up. So we're trying to set up the Azure deployment pipeline. So for that, we just come here and say add new release definition. Then what kind of deployment do we want? There are so many types here. There's even Kubernetes cluster. There is Azure website with deployment slots, yada yada yada, Flask, Django, and so on and so forth. Or you can just start your own empty process and configure it from there. But in our own case, we just want a simple Azure App Service deployment. So once we select that, it comes up here. It asks us what name do we want to call this environment. Let's just call this production, because what could go wrong, right? Deploying straight to production. So anyway, now that we've picked production, we can now specify what policies should be there. We don't really need any of these, and that's all. Next thing is to change this. Let's call this, let's just call it pipeline, right? Because this is our deployment pipeline. So if you look at it, what's it? Okay, so the beginning of the pipeline is where it's going to get the things it wants to deploy, called artifacts. So we come here, say add artifact. Then we select what build. So of course we want the artifact to be a build from project Nikeza. Where's the source definition of the build? Nikeza server, because you could have multiple ones. So by selecting this, we now have Nikeza server latest with the alias of this. We just add that. So now we have a source. Then we can come here, click this thunder sign, because this is like what should trigger this. What should trigger this step? That's what event should trigger this step. That's this circle you're looking at here. We want right now nothing triggers this build pipeline, so we want it to be enabled. So by enabling it, it means that anytime a build completes, it should trigger the release instantly. That's what we've done here. So again, trigger the release. The build is it takes the artifacts, it pushes those artifacts to the production step. So here, this event is saying release this build artifacts to production, right? That's what this is doing. You can have approval. So if you are working in an organization where you want someone to approve before something goes into production, you can come here and enable it. You can also have a deployment queue settings. So this is if multiple deployments are scheduled at the same time, right? It allows you to say, okay, you know what, cancel all the previous deployments. So cancel all the previous deployments except the latest one, just deploy the latest straight. So instead of deploying, so if you have version 2 and 3 lined up, instead of deploying version 2 separately, then deploying version 3, you may just want to say, you know what, skip number 2 and just deploy number 3. That works for like things like web applications, but that may not necessarily work for like desktop apps and all those other kinds of stuff. So, but now that I've configured this, that's really all there is to it. Now, in this production step, I now need to configure what happens in that production step. So by clicking that, it now takes me to the tasks, and I can now see that, okay, I'm in production. It's saying some settings need attention. We'll get to this in a moment. But this part is the part that's run by the agent. So this is run inside of, you know, whatever build agent we've configured. This may be on-premise in your data center, in your local data center, or like in the case of what we're doing is that you are using an agent that is in Azure. in an agent that Microsoft has, created for us. So essentially, we just want to deploy our app-to-app service, nothing fancy. The next step is to now select an Azure subscription. I don't know. I think in my previous video, I showed the link in how to link your Azure subscription. It's actually like 2 or 3 lines or so. You just click authorize, and once it authorizes you, it gets access to your Azure account so that you can just link it directly to your subscriptions. As you can see here, I have 2 different subscriptions. So the subscription I care about is this pay as you go. Okay, yes, I need to authorize it. So when I click authorize, it opens up this small pop-up window where I can now log in with my Azure credentials. So logging in with my Azure credentials, what this does is it authorizes TFS to be able to deploy to Azure. Okay, rising. But the moment it's done, I should be able to just click this drop down and select and see all my apps straight away. So let's just wait a bit. Yes. So I should be able to click this drop down, and then lo and behold, you will see Nikeza. So once I select Nikeza, I can now specify what deployment slots. But ultimately, what I want to deploy is whatever is a zip. Remember what I told you about the build pipeline, right? It deploys it to a zip file. So I want to deploy that zip file. It also gives me the option of doing things like generating a web config file with parameters, adding XML transformation and all whatnot. I don't care about most of these. I think these settings are fine just the way they are. All I just need to now do is save. Okay. All right. So let us now kick off our whole pipeline and keep our fingers crossed and see how that works end to end. So how do we kick it off? Well, you can check in, once you check in code to source control. Oh no, in our own case, we disabled it because of build minutes, but all I need to do to trigger a deployment is to come here, select Nikeza server, say queue new build, right? And that will, just ask me a few questions. I just say queue it.
Yeah, so, sorry. If you heard a sound of something smashing, that was me. I kicked over my microphone. This is live right now. This is live TV, people. We deal with live ammunition. I'm like, I thought I had it muted. I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. I had it muted, but no, it just fell on my keyboard. It just went like, boom. Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. So there's still 3 people watching. I mean, like, why are these people still here, Odie? I mean, don't they have something better to do? That's my big question.
I don't think you should sell yourself short. I think there's value in what you are doing, and absolutely. even though right now, right, we just have 3 people watching, but I think by the time the video is up on YouTube, you will have so many more views because people will stumble upon it, they will search it, they will find it. Because believe it or not, a lot of people have, at least they have no direct idea of how to take a concept, an app, and build it and deploy it to Azure and have a URL that they can show people. And there's something empowering about that, very empowering. And the ability to just take something and
yeah, and something that we need more of is real world tutorials or examples, because one of the things I'm tired, and it was one of the things that I really want to attack with the Lambda cartel is let's not do tutorials based on fantasy. Let's do tutorials that you can actually run on Azure or on AWS or on your own computer without much problem, because people expect you, like when you buy a book, a software book, they expect you to write all this code, to figure out everything, and the first thing that happens is that you have a problem building the code, or you need some dependency, and you don't know the ecosystem, or for example, you don't know how to do the pipeline, set up the pipeline, do all those things. And so one of my goals is to provide this sort of knowledge sharing in a way that can be consumed and actionable, right? Not just here it is the code, here's the tutorial. No, here's the app running, here's the code that powers it, and here's how we push it to production. So I think that's the big value here. And I will joke about it because, you know, that's my personality, right? And I like to keep things light, but the real value here is this guys took something that is unfinished. I mean, it's so raw that, you know, we could get like a health department violation right now. It's as raw as a piece of meat, and we're pushing it out to production without any thought, just because we wanted to get over that bump, and just because we wanted to move forward. So I know there's the value there, and I know, and I didn't want to sell you short. And I really got to say, Odie, you really know this stuff. Like, I really need for you to teach me this, because this is so money. Like, I know people will pay so much money to learn this in an environment that is not, you know, that is just that is favorable to them learning. Because if you learn this at your job, that's not a favorable environment, because if you make a mistake, you gotta learn this outside. So John Vest says the raw eggs of the code world. John, I'm gonna let that one pass, because you're one of the three many.
Hey, I hope we've not lost him.
Been
we lost you for a bit. We lost you for a bit there. But anyway, can you hear me? Or is it me?
No, that I think it was me. So I had the YouTube video at the same time. Plus, my family is watching Netflix on 2 different TVs. So my internet connection, you know, So
okay. So
please.
Let me continue. So what we've done so far is the build pipeline has been triggered. That one is automatically triggered the deployment. As you can see, it did all the deployment steps for us, and so on and so forth. And, you know, true to you know what we said, if you look at the folder in Kudu, as you can see, all the files are there, right? The only problem is that right now that won't still work, because we don't have the so if I delete this, if I delete the SCM and just go to Nikeza, the Azure website, right? Okay, it's still showing up here, right? Instead of showing up as our app. That's because we don't have the web configured. So
can I ask you, could it be too much if you copy that URL and paste it on the chat for the Hangout, so that I can share that on Twitter for people to because that's going to be a glorious moment when that thing is clickable.
All right, so I've sent it now. There's AzureWebsites.net. So back to what I was saying about Kudu. So what I need to do now is to add a web.config, which I've done. Then I need to put that stuff I showed you into the web.config. So under sample build, let's open up this web in VS Code. Copy this, right? Then go to, come here, paste it, and then I think it's fine. So we save. So what it's doing is it will call .NET and then Nikeza server.dll. So let us try it out and see. Let's refresh this. It's taking a while to roll. That's it. That's either a good sign or a bad sign.
So for those of you following this video, I just tweeted the link to the Azure website. If you wanna try it out, right now it's not live, but you can try and access it and bookmark it or whatever, because this is going to be live soon, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh my god! I just want to see, like everybody else's face when they realize
when they wake up.
Yeah, well, like winter is coming. Like, you know, like we did that. Like, are these guys crazy? Yes, we are. We're absolutely nuts. But so that's okay.
Let me create. Yeah, that's okay. Let me create a logs folder so that in case anything happens, we'll be able to see the logs of, you know, if it's not working, it's still waiting. What is it?
What's the problem with it? Come on, like, Nikeza dot. Let me see if I can access it. Not yet. Oh, it's .net. I wrote .com.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a 502.
Yeah, so process failure.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. So let's look at why that is. Let's refresh this. Let me redo that. Let's come back to the log files site. www logs. Okay. Let's go over it again. www. Let's go. You see, this is that thing you are saying about real world deployment, right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
It's not. It never works the first time.
Exactly. And if it works, you should be really worried. Like if I write some code and it runs on the first try, I don't believe it. Like I'm like, something is wrong here, definitely, because it's not so code is not meant to run on the first try. It's not meant to run on the first try because that's it. It's not meant to run, you know, as much as you'd like to. And I guess that back in the day of punch cards and, you know, and shared computer times, right? You had to make sure, you had to go through the code mentally to make sure they didn't have a bug, because that might mean that you would have to wait 2 more weeks in order to run that specific you know, application. But these days, come on, you know, I have a computer on my pocket right now. At least in my office, there are no less than 10 computers within my grasp.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's including all the crappy robots that I built. Oh my God,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I think I figured out our problem though. Like, I think what's happening here is that because of Docker, right? Mitchell had to like bind the URL to 5,000. So we will have to uncomment this.
Oh, okay.
So what will happen is, let me put a note here so that he knows why.
Yeah. So this is for Scott. You know, code comments. You were arguing about this the other day. This is a real world example of why we need comments, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Let me see.
He's gonna fly to Puerto Rico and smack me because I said that, but bring it. I don't care. Oh my God, I'm so excited. It's 9:20 local time. It's what, 2 a.m. for you?
Yeah, 2 a.m. Exactly.
Oh my God. Are you going to be able
So
to sleep?
I've slept, so I will still be able to sleep. I think. Okay, so I've let's see. Let me, ignored port 5,000 because of winter. Did you see my commit message?
Because of winter. Winter is coming. I need to. Oh my God, that's just so funny. Oh my God, you know, it's you have the best kind of humor. Remember the other day? So the other day we were recording. Hold on. So we actually have a question. So John is asking, can I clone the repo and submit a PR? Yes, absolutely. We still haven't added a license to the repo because I was in charge of that and I've been lazy about it. But you can definitely clone it and submit PRs. And if you want to work on it, you can work on it. I mean, you're absolutely welcome. You don't need to be a member of the Lambda Cartel to do that. You know, we welcome collaboration from everybody, and just make sure to let us know what you'll be doing on an issue, so that you don't waste your time, right? But you are free to clone this. You're free to run it on your machine, to do whatever the hell you want, honestly. And you know, there's no limit what you can do, right? Don't don't let your dreams be dreams, kind of thing. So yes, clone it and do whatever the hell you want. And you know, thank you so much for asking.
Yeah, because it's really important that we really need PRs. So if you feel you can, contribute, even if it's one line here or 2 lines there, it's still useful. We still want your contributions. We still want your feedback. I can't stress this, any more than I'm currently doing. But at least just let us know what you're working on. Just let us know, okay, so that we don't go ahead and do whatever it is you want to do, or maybe make changes that would cause
and help you, and and help you so that you don't fall into a trap, right? And then get discouraged because at the end of the day, we want you to leverage this to learn and to move forward. Like this is not self-promotion. We don't want you to clone this because we're going to make money off of it. Like, we're not making money off of it at all. We want you to level up. Like, the whole spirit behind the Lambda Cartel is that we want to promote people to level up, not only on their careers, but themselves. And so let us know what you're working on. Let us know if you have any issues. It might take, depending on how grave the issue is, you might have someone answer quickly, or it might take up a couple of days. If you really need to have something answered immediately because, hey, you're stuck, and sometimes that happens, just ping me on Twitter, and I'll do my best. I'm not if you see the code that I wrote on Nikeza, you will realize that I'm not an F# expert or a .NET expert, but I'll do my best to get you underway. So how is it looking? Let's see. Let me reload.
No, it won't work yet. I'm still doing the deployment. So right now I'm at the deployment step, trying to
hurry up.
The app to go.
I'm so anxious.
All right. The deployment is done.
You know what's amazing? We went from zero. We went from feeling worried that we weren't making progress to pushing this out, having people watch us do this, and have somebody clone the repo.
Wow.
That's that's the little. It's the little things. This is the dancing. This is us creating that momentum, and it's due to it's all thanks to the people who follow us. Absolutely. Like if it weren't for people who follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, on the different platforms, like we wouldn't be able to do this because it takes the knowledge that, or the assumption that we are somehow failing you if we fail to produce this or to finish this. It takes that to motivate us, because otherwise I'm just going to default to being on a hammock, right? That's my default state.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving us those wins. We wanted those wins. We needed those wins. Thank you so much. Those are like medals to me. Like today is like as if I were finishing a marathon. And even if it's a short marathon, even if it's the marathon, I shouldn't be running, but I finished it. So yeah, clone it, commented, just do whatever you want. So, wow.
So this is where we are finally. I don't think that was the problem. Ultimately, saying Azure websites, environment detected, yada yada yada, Kestrel, access permission denied, which is head scratching to me. Address not available.
Google.
But yeah, so I have one system aggregate exception. Failed to bind to address 5,000. So let me see if I can quickly do that. Let's copy.
So this is the process. This is how you build software. You Google shit.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is like people think developers are so freaking smart. Like, oh, he's a senior developer. Well, that means he Googles more than the junior developers.
Yeah, that is so true. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons of the mission of the Lambda Cartel. To have the resources so that when people Google, they can find answers that are actually useful, right? I don't know if you ever used the internet before Google came around, or Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I would go for pages and pages of results. And I mean, Alta Vista, for whatever, it was good at its time, but it was just awful. Oh my God, like tons and tons of unrelated stuff. We really need Nikeza. Nikeza is something that the world needs.
Yeah, it is. So I'm stuck. Okay, hold on. I think let's see, Azure.
So let's talk about it. Let's try and brainstorm this out. Maybe we can talk it out and see. Maybe by me asking stupid questions, you can get something. We can get something moving. So it says that. Oh, what's up? What's up?
Sorry, I've seen why. Okay. So it has a lot to do with the giraffe template we got. So maybe what will happen is I'll try and send a PR to the giraffe people. So this is the problem. Let me show you something interesting. Let's go to sample. That sample we created earlier, that was C#. I just want to do a compare and contrast so that you can see where the problem is coming from. Let's go to program.cs. Now, as you can see, there is app.use IIS integration. Did you see that? Whereas in this thing, we don't have anything like that. So that's what's causing the deployment to fail in Azure, because you need this IIS integration middleware, and it has to come just before you say use your startup class or use your startup services. Now, where does this
is that available?
Yes, it is. It is. So where does this IIS integration come from? As you can see, the namespace is what? Let's look at the namespace. iWeb Host Builder. Okay, iWeb host builder should be part of Microsoft ASP.NET Core hosting. But the important part is if you come here, okay, I think it even comes with ASP.NET Core, but out of the box. So let's go back to Nikeza. Let's try and see if we can configure it to say, before we say configure app, we'll say use IIS integration. There you go. And I think that is it. Let me try rebinding this port to port 5000 just to see what would happen. So that I won't even need that comment anyway. Is there a way to comment a comment?
A way to comment a comment?
No, don't mind me. I'm just.
So for those of you listening, this weird sound that you can hear is my seat. It's nothing else. It sounds awfully like something else. I really need to get a job in order to buy a new chair. Oh man, I'm working on that though.
Oh man, yeah. All right. So now that I've pushed to master, let's go ahead and trigger a brand new build again. So Nikeza server SKU new build. Back in my PHP days, all I would just do is go to the server and edit the source files there. but this is fine. This is fine.
I found the other day, while you do that, let me give you a little story. The other day I was going through so Ian Moore just said that issue 44 in Giraffe has the changes you need.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so check it out, issue 44 in Giraffe. Thank you so much, Ian. Because wait, it's Ian or Ian?
I think it's Ian.
Ian, yeah. My English is not very good looking. Sorry about that. So thank you so much, not only for giving us that heads up, but for watching this. Right, you are part of Lambda Cartel history.
Yeah.
And today marks the 2-month anniversary. So see, there you go, Ian. So today marks the 2-month anniversary of, or it shouldn't be anniversary because that means it's years. The 2-month celebration, I guess, or the milestone. It's 2 months longer than I thought the Lambda Cartel would actually last. But here we are doing something crazy, something that will make, I think the other members are going to just be happy about it. It might make them cringe a little, but sometimes you just gotta say with hell with everything, just do things.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think this is just a hunch here, but I think it has to do with a designer mindset versus a coder mindset. So I don't know if I told you, but I started software development, but I came at it from the point of a designer. So I used to design like websites, images, those kinds of stuff. And what used to happen is, for someone like me, the kind of mindset I have is until I see what I'm doing before I have motivation to keep doing what I'm doing. Unlike some of my friends who are like the coder type, who can just sit down, think of a concept in their head end to end, and execute that concept in one fell swoop. I'm not really like that. I like to see what it is I'm working on. So what tends to happen with me is anytime I have a project and I really want to deliver on that project, I deploy the project as it is. The ugliness of the project, or the ugliness of the web page, or whatever, or the fact that it's not up to what I expect, that drive is going to drive me to keep working on it until I perfect it. I think we're just doing the exact same thing, but this time for the entire team. So I think it has deployed. Wow, that was quick. Okay, no, it's not. It's not yet done. It's not yet done. It's still ongoing.
Come on, don't say that. Don't say that.
All right, I think it's done.
It says process
Let's
failure.
try that.
No, I tried it. It says process failure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
So I'm so anxious.
So
You know,
let me try it again.
when we become rich and famous, I'm gonna look back to these days and say like, wow, that's where it all started.
Very true. So let's see. Failed to bind to address 717.218 aggregate exception, TCP IP handle, blah blah blah. One or more errors occurred. What could be the problem? What could be the problem? I think maybe what we should do is to get like the latest version of Giraffe. Okay, okay, sorry, hold on. I think I have to go back. Another, I uncommented that port 5000 parts. So let's do it again. Remove just root port 5000 as of winter. All right. So now that I've pushed, we have to go through this one more time. You know what? What is better is instead of going through this one more time, let me deploy it and just upload the DLL directly because I can do that. So let's see. Okay, no. I'll just see this. Let's go to, just call this deploy. Okay, so I'll just upload the DLL back. Let's open deploy. Let's look from Nikeza.dll. Nikeza.server.dll. Copy that, or rather, let's head back to Azure, to Kudu in particular. Cancel this. Go back to the home page. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. What can I do? Is to copy this CD into this. Not a new file. All right, so I think it has updated the file. Still process failure. Let's see into the logs. Let's do a star. Is in use by another process. What is going on? What is going on, OD?
For some reason, I can't see your screen. Let me see.
Okay.
I can't see it full what? Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay. So
yeah, I can see it now.
Let me trigger this build definition one more time. But what I can't seem to figure out though is that so let's head back. CD dot. I have everything correctly set up, and yet, in fact, let me even push the desktop sample, sorry, deploy. Let's see, Nikeza, sorry, .NET, Nikeza server DLL. It's working. It's working. So why?
Why? Yes, that's the you know, that's why we get paid the big bucks.
Yeah.
Like the why. I gotta say that being a software development is so annoying.
It's still annoying.
It's so annoying. All right, so
okay.
What's up?
You know what we're going to do? We're going to hack this thing.
Yes, yes, I like that. Come on.
So how we're going to hack it is I'll get rid of this web config. Then I will change the name. There is one HTML file that was here. I think it was called ABCDEFGH hosting start, right? So I'm going to change this hosting start. I'm going to rename this. Let's see. Rename item. Let's say hosting start to hosting start -1. So after the rename, what was the name of that file? You called it something index, static index,
static
right?
index.html.
So we're going to rename. We're going to rename name item static index HTML. We're going to name it to hosting start.html.
I'm sorry. I just saw. I'm on GitHub, and I just saw that the commit that I made is like my pick, my username. It says winter is coming. That's so funny. I mean, oh my god, I'm gonna get
all right. So,
oh my god, go ahead.
So, I've hacked it, and yes. So what I did was just to remove the web config and just put the static HTML there. So the Nikeza server, the Nikeza.Azure website is finally live.
Wow! Bravo! Bravo! Yes, and so this is not running the Giraffe backend, right? This is just a static file.
This is just a static file, yeah.
Okay, but that's good. You know why? Because we needed to take this live. We didn't need to run the Giraffe backend. We really didn't need that. We just needed to show this, right?
Yeah.
That's it. We can fix that, and now we can definitely work on fixing that and figuring it out once we're off the air, and then doing a little video on the fix. But I want to congratulate you, Odie, because if it wasn't for you, wait, it says your Nikeza YouTube reference was wrong inside of VS. Oh, right. So yeah, there is a bug. Yes, thanks for that, Joe. That's true. That's something I was aware of always. But still, like,
Okay.
I want to congratulate you. I want to say thank you, because if it wasn't for your inclination to just say, to hell, let's do this, we wouldn't have this momentum. And ultimately, I know that this is going to motivate the other people in the team, and this is actually motivating me not only to finish Nikeza, but to learn Azure, which I was very against. But, you know, I want to say thank you. Really, thank you for doing this. And
yeah, it was my pleasure.
It's, you know, this is why the whole Lambda cartel thing, I think, got to 2 months, because when, you know, when things get tough, the tough get going, I guess. And this is not, I mean, this is a victory, yes, but this is not the actual Nikeza application running. No, that's true, but we do have that pipeline. We got to figure out how to fix the issue that we have. But once that issue is out, we can start deploying out. We can start doing that.
Yeah.
And that is really, really huge, because I can push my code out and not have to worry about anything else. Of course, we need to set up like a staging environment.
Yeah.
But aside from
that's where. Okay, so maybe another time we'll set up a staging environment. We will also. I also add like parameters so that we can be able to debug issues if they come up. But more importantly is that we're going to debug essentially this problem we're having in our staging environment, and let's see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think that this could be like staging environment itself, right?
Okay, not necessarily. So like what? No, we should separate them, because if you think about it, this is what we have here is essentially what do they call it? Free, right? I didn't pay a dime for all of this, not the database, not the web app and everything. So I could just make another copy. You can scale 0 infinitely. So it's just to have another copy, repeat this process that we just did for Nikeza proper. Maybe have like Nikeza dash staging, repeat the process there. Then in that one, we'll be, you know, playing around with that one while we send this link out to people, so that people can be visiting it without them seeing that it's going offline all the time. You know?
Absolutely. So I just found a bug on the static file.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. So the second link says Nikeza repo on GitHub, and it's tagged as video, whereas it should be link.
It should be link, yeah.
What do we do there? Do I make a pull request?
Yes. So the pull request you will send, rename the file to hostingstats.html. So you will rename that file. I think currently the file is called let's see, the file was called static index. So you change it to hosting stat. Okay, change it to hosting stat. Send a pull request. Then once I trigger the
can you type the name? Can you type the name of the file on the chat, the Hangout?
Okay. Let me just copy that.
Just in case I don't.
All right. So just send a pull request. Once I merge it in and I trigger the build, it will be in production. We should have it live.
Okay. So let's see. See, we're also, this is the process. You know who's going to cringe so hard when he says this? I think Scott is going to, not because he's angry or anything or bad or hard to work with, but this is so different from how he works.
It's so left field.
Yes. He is. I mean, we all care about doing things right, like, you know, we care about doing things well, and he is just absolutely focused on doing things right, and it shows, right? He is one of the best developers I've ever met. and talk to. Like talking with him is just like an encyclopedia of software, right?
Yeah.
And he's gonna see this, and I think he's gonna cringe a little because it goes against everything he says. But sometimes you just gotta pig out.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's hosting start. Hosting start. Let's see.
HTML.
Oh, it's gonna change the commit message.
Yeah, you can change the commit message.
Oh, I cannot put winter is coming again. So
Okay.
Static index.
The avalanche has started.
No, winter is now live. No, it's cold outside. Oh my God. Change. Oh.
Oh yeah.
You know what's funny? Like we tend to think that development software is it's a process that's A to B to C to D, right? That everything is just one step after the other. And through this, that it's not. You sometimes start at A or at F, and then you go down to D and then to H, right? You don't really follow a pattern. You don't. Even if you try, even if you really have great management, you're doing agile, user stories, and all of that, there is no process that gets you to the goal directly. There's a lot of going around.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of the reason is that software isn't exactly
sorry, Odie, I can't hear you. You're very far.
I said like software isn't exactly like engineering where like there are there's a lay down process on how to build like a building or a car and things like that. In software engineering, more often than not, what happens is we don't know where we are going, so we you understand, most of the things we do are like novel, so we'll have to be going forward and backward, trying out different things before we actually get to where we are going, as opposed to something like engineering or material science, where there is a lay down procedure. Okay, do this, then next do this, then next do this. Software isn't like that, like especially when you're developing an app that probably doesn't already exist. There's a lot of discovery involved in getting there. So, yeah.
Oh, by the way, the pull request, I just sent it out.
All right. So let me merge it in. Yeah. All right. Okay. So as I've merged this in, the next step is to trigger the build. So let's head back to Nikeza, the server. Build.
It's pretty cool how Azure has taken a lot of the pain of configuring, the continuous build integration into their service. Like from what I saw, there really wasn't a long process to start pulling from GitHub. And that's pretty awesome. I gotta say that is that's really awesome. And like I'm working on a project right now, CMS. I was talking to you about it earlier. And it uses Django and whatever. And I was working on configuring Git on my web host in order to push it out. Because I have a little web host that I pay for in order to have email and all the things, right? But if I had, but I don't have the same level of integration, like, point and click, point and click. I actually have
Mm.
to write a little bit of code, of Bash. Uh,
Wow.
it's not awful because it's pretty much copy paste something from
Yeah.
from the internet, but I
That's
wish
that's
that is,
something extra you had to do.
yeah, it adds to that overhead. And
Yeah.
my host is Web Faction, which is a really, really great host. Like, I have
Mm.
nothing bad to say against them, and this is not a criticism to them, right? Because this is the service they provide. But I wish that web hosts would gravitate to this ideas, to at least provide the option, or to provide a way for you to do this kind of things without having to use without having to log in into their server, which is like,
Yeah.
I don't want to SSH and do all these things. I mean, that's how it was done old school, right?
Hmm.
But it's 2017.
I think moving forward, right? Like we're going to see a lot of improvements in so a lot more people adopting Docker because with Docker, right, it actually eliminates most of these steps because once you've built it, right, what you've built is essentially production ready. So there is no continuous integration that is necessary. I think the only continuous integration you need is just upload your Docker containers, to maybe a registry or something, and it gets deployed for you. I know the first time I saw something similar to Docker was in this thing. I don't know if you know about it, Pagoda Box. That was during my PHP days. Pagoda Box. I don't know if you've heard about it. I don't know if they support more languages, but I know that back in the day it was PHP. This was like what is essentially the first version of what you would call Docker today. So they have what they call a box file. So that box file, you specify like what version of PHP you want, what version of MySQL you want, which will be like describing the images. And
Mm-hmm.
once you do that, you just deploy your app with the box file, and then they would use that. You push your code to a repository that they will give you. Then they will use the box file to do the continuous build and isolation and all that for you, and do the deployment. So it,
Sorry,
it was very,
I, I
yeah.
I kicked my microphone again.
Yeah. No, it's okay, man. It's okay. So
Production quality is zero on this video.
nah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. So, but anyway, like I was saying about Pagoda Box, right? It's one of the earliest versions of what we would call Docker today. It was a host I used to use when I was doing PHP, and they give you like what is called a box file that tells is a file that tells them how to deploy your code, and they do the deployment for you. You just check it into source control. Once you say git push and all that, it's a really nice service. Unfortunately, we don't have anything like that in .NET, but I think they had a lot of really good ideas. It's just maybe if Microsoft are listening to this podcast, which they probably aren't, but if they were, I think one of a good thing would be to look at these people's model and somehow mimic it somehow, so that I could check in like a recipe into my source control that just tells the Azure deployment pipeline how to deploy my app, essentially.
You you
So
know
anyway,
I just had
I think
I just had an idea, and I'm
mm,
gonna talk to you about it right now before we leave because we have to leave. It's
yeah,
crazy late, right? But
yeah,
we should make this a weekly thing. Like we have with the podcast. We
yeah.
should make this a weekly thing where we have a video of us coding and we go through the code together and we build it.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that will be great because one, we're sharing the process, which is something that we wanted to do,
Mm,
and two, we are setting time aside to work on the code. And people like John, people like Ian can join in and see our process and help us out, like when we get stuck, like they did, you know.
mm,
So I'm going to propose that to everybody else. It doesn't need to be multiple people,
yeah.
but at least two of us working on something should be awesome.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. So I
So
think,
we're done, right?
yeah, we're done. I think, although from what I'm seeing, I don't know whether it's this thing, if it's cached, but it's like the change has not been made. It's still saying video. Nikeza repo on GitHub.
Yeah.
Video. So the
Yeah,
question,
it could be cash.
so the question is why? Let's take a look at
Maybe
let's
didn't rebuild it.
consult.
Wait.
Well,
Did I make the change? No, I didn't make the change. Oh my god, what an idiot. Oh my god.
It's not that it's because it's late. It's getting late at your end, so you know. But anyway, that it happens to me too. It happens to me. It's not. It's normal.
It's,
In
it's
fact,
not that
I'd
it
be
happens. It's the frequency of how much it happens.
okay. You know what? Let me just edit it here while you send another pull request. So let me change this to text, just so that we can just fix it once and for all. I think it should be in capital. Is it capital?
I
Text?
feel so stupid.
Nah, it's all right, man.
I mean, I that's the process, I guess. Oh my god. So let me just create a pull request. Where the hell?
You know what? Maybe what I should do is let me link this Nikeza server. I will link it to. So let me edit this. Let me even show how to link it to source control, so that the moment I merge the pull request, it should just build immediately. So for that to happen, let's go to triggers. It's actually enabled. So I really don't even need to be queuing the builds manually. Anyhow. So once you push,
I created a pull request.
okay.
I'm even hungry right now.
Okay, LNK link. So let me merge the pull request in.
Oh, John is making fun of me on the chat. Go ahead, John. I'm gonna give you this one. Okay? Don't get used to it. And yeah, don't like be afraid. I'm gonna look for your email address. I'm gonna start telling you a lot of weird pictures. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, we have to make a show. We have to make a podcast about stupid things we've done. Because
Yeah.
I have a list. I have an encyclopedia of things I've done. Not only with computers, like just to give you an idea. While you do that, let me do the story. So, a long time ago in a galaxy far away, I wasn't even married. I used to buy like 2 or 3 beers and just drink them at my house because I've never been like a drinker. I don't drink anymore. And I just like, 2 or 3 beers. So I had drank like 3 beers, maybe even 4. And so my alcohol tolerance is not very high. So I was, a little bit fuzzy. And I decided to change the brake pads on my car. Like a genius drunk idea, right? Like, and so I put the car up. I raised the car. I removed the wheels. I removed the brake pads. I'm a mechanic, so I know what I'm doing, right? I put the new pads in. I put new brake discs too, which is very easy. The car at Mitsubishi was very easy. Just take out like 6 bolts, counting the wheel nuts, and that's it. So I finish, and I'm very proud of myself. Like easy, easy peasy. So I get out of the driveway, and immediately I hear a loud screeching noise, like, and I'm like, well, that's the new brakes breaking in, right? Because they have a braking period where the pad and the disc, sort of, like they, uh, the, I don't know how to say it in English. Sorry. So they have a braking period, right? Where they get accustomed to each other, I guess. And and so I drive the car for about half a mile.
Wow.
Testing the brakes. I could hear like, so I'm like, I think there's something wrong. I go back, I pull the car back up, put it up again on jack stands, move the wheels, and there it is. I have put the pads in backwards. Like the metal, it was metal to metal.
Yeah.
I was braking with the metal side of the pads, and I have made a 4mm or 5mm wide, which is about 1/4 of an inch wide groove to the brake.
Wow. Hi.
And it was, and I think it was that deep too. So here's what I did. I flipped the pads to the correct side, put everything back, and I used it like that. And I just said, well, now I have Porsche brakes because they're ventilated.
Wow.
Yeah. It's beautiful. One of these days So it's not loading?
Yeah, it's done. It's done. It's fine now.
It's done. Let me see.
It's done. So just refresh it at your end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, dude. So let's cut this short right here. I want to say thank you, Odie, for being with me and doing this crazy idea. Let's schedule. Let's say that next Friday or next Saturday, next Sunday or whatever, next week, we're gonna do the same thing. We'll figure out the details.
Okay.
And thank you so much. And I want to say thank you for everybody who watched this. Thank you to John Best, and thank you for Ian Moore and the other people who were watching. Thank you so much for following us. This has been Odi Mbebu. Mbebu,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
Yeah.
Finally, I got it. Oh, bye-bye.